This week on NWP, Angelo and I board the E3 hype train. Woo woo! Hello everyone and welcome to Nerds Without Pants episode 73. Not only on the E3 hype train, but also on board the train towards episode 75. I am Julian, and I am not joined as always by Patrick, but I am joined as always by Angelo.
Wait, what is a man? What a miserable pile of secrets.
It doesn't play on the audio show, Angelo.
I know, but I had to do it anyway.
But Angelo is gripping a really impressive glass of dark wine that recalls the beginning of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
That's delicious.
Which also ties into our talk about Bloodstained last time. But, yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, we're still, close to episode 75. You've only got a couple episodes left. And like I've said the last couple episodes, we want to hear from you. If you want to let us know about the show or just like record a greeting or something like that. I haven't received any yet, and I don't want to be left hanging, guys. It would be kind of sad if, I advertise this for like 4 episodes and then there's nothing in episode 75 from any of you fine listeners. But yeah, if you are interested in recording a little greeting or a little, happy episode 75 or happy 3rd year anniversary of Nerds Without Pants, just do like a 1 to 2 minute long audio thing for us, and you can send it, to my Pixelbit email. That is julian@pixelbit.com with the subject line NWP75. Hope to hear from y'all, and we have some fun stuff in store for episode 75 with some surprises and some special guests and more. So look forward to that. But as far as this episode, you can look forward to a lot of meandering conversation between Angelo and myself. We're a man down and we're a woman down. We were going to have a special guest on for a specific topic. Unfortunately, there was a last-minute cancellation. She had some emergency that came up, and we will reschedule because we're really looking forward to having her on. Should be a really fun episode. I don't even really want to... I've kind of spilled the beans on Twitter, but I don't want to really spill the beans on the show. You just look forward to it, as the Japanese say. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know, Angelo, did you want to kick off with some Consumption Junction stuff?
I could. Sure.
That sounds like a plan.
We could do that. I could go back to before vacation. So I was talking with one of my cousins recently, and she's into this is kind of similar stuff, video games, anime, things like that. And she mentioned Gurren Lagann, which I have not watched. And have you seen that one, Julian?
Yeah, I think we're about to have a disagreement.
Oh, you didn't like it?
I hated it.
Wait. Okay.
Hated it so much.
Hold on. So here's the thing. I felt like that about Kill la Kill, which everybody loved.
Hated Kill la Kill
and I watched
so
that
much.
and I was like, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. And it's cranked up. It's beyond 11. Like, cranked up to 11 is good. This is like cranked up to 15. And it's a little too high. That's me. And I can understand why other people would like it, because it's ridiculous and it's crazy. I liked Gurren Lagann, though, like, quite a bit. It is not my typical flavor when it comes to anime. Like, give me Evangelion, give me Berserk, give me, I don't know, something a little grittier. I know that's kind of like a horrible thing to say these days, because everything has to be gritty and, Batman and blah, 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 but... that's the flavor I like my anime, I suppose. And this is not... it has some darker undertones to it. There's darker moments in it. Like, it's not all roses and puppies or anything like that. It went to a level of ridiculousness, which was at times over the top, but I still smiled. So I really enjoyed it. I take it you didn't, though.
No, I think to your point, it's not so much that my anime needs to be gritty, because I'm actually in the process of rewatching Ranma 1/2 on Blu-ray. It's that I like my anime to be well drawn and animated.
That goes back and forth on that. I noticed there was one episode where I looked at it and goes, wow, this doesn't even look like it was done by the same people that did the first 5 episodes.
Right.
Then there's other ones where I was like, oh yeah, this is good. So I think they're still doing the thing. Like even with Evangelion, you can notice this too, especially then looking back on it, where they probably have 2 different people working on it, like 2 different groups, and one of them is the let's crank it out fast budget group, and the other one is everything detailed, everything like super elaborate group. So
yeah, but I think that and it's good that you brought up Kill la Kill, because there's a certain style of anime that's come out, and it's not new. Like I remember first seeing it with XL Saga, where it's like, let's make it not only as crazy as possible, but let's also make it look like it's just barely drawn. Like let's make it super sketchy and loose, and like we're not even going to pretend like, because let's be fair, anime is really bad about anatomy, and the way that the human body moves. But there's still like certain anime where it's grounded in some sort of reality, where stuff, and to be fair, I only have seen a couple episodes of Gurren Lagann. It was enough to turn me off, and maybe it was those episodes that you told me that you were talking about that didn't look as good as the other ones. But there's definitely moments where it's like that's not even, there's no joints in that arm. This is Adventure Time at this point. But
it's not that bad. But
and then Gurren Lagann in particular, like I just didn't care for the actual art style, because that's kind of divorced from the animation. Like just the actual this is how these characters look type of thing just turned me off. But yeah, it's been a problem, and I also get flack because people are like, but you love Fooly Cooly. And it's like, yeah, but Fooly Cooly works for me on multiple viewings. Like I didn't love it the first time I saw it, but it's also only 6 episodes. So it's like it was easy for me to go back and rewatch. It's like, oh wait, no, this gets better. And then you watch it a third time, it's like, it's even better, and so on and so forth. And I know, like, a lot of people listening are like, you are full of crap, Julian, and you don't know what you're talking about. But, hey, I've been watching anime since, like, 1992. So, I come from an old school with it. I've said it before, like, anime is one of the only things that I can be hipster about. And, I've kind of divorced from this newfangled stuff.
So I feel like maybe your experience with it might have been the same as mine with like Dragon Ball Z, where all the episodes I saw made me never want to watch that show.
Right. I can understand that.
But the thing with Gurren Lagann is I was right with you for like the first 2 episodes. And I hate to be that guy that says the line that everybody says, oh, you have to watch like the first 5 episodes and then it gets good. And that's not the case, because it doesn't ever change its art style and its ridiculousness and all that. And I was watching it, and 2 episodes in, I was like, okay, I can, to bring it up one more time, I was like, oh, this is the spirit of the school of whatever that Kill la Kill came from. Like, Kill la Kill is obviously an evolution of this.
Right.
But the thing is, this one has, like, heart to it that I don't think Kill la Kill does. This is also from somebody who got 5 or 6 episodes deep into Kill la Kill and was done.
I made it 1.5, so you're stronger than I am, sir.
When people keep telling me something is good, I'm like, I must be missing something. That's just my nature. So I watch more, and then I watch more, and then I watch more. And then eventually I'm like, there's nothing here for me.
Right.
So I think it was episode 4 where I was like, oh, I like this. But I did have to watch 4 or 5 episodes of it. And then it starts getting emotional. So there is that in it. It does not lack that depth. So it's got more than just here's big robots being ridiculous because I thought that too. I was like, you can't make robots that do this. Metal doesn't move that way. All that stuff. Like, this is completely ridiculous. But the show doesn't earn it at the beginning. It earns it sort of in the middle, like between episodes 4 and say episode 10. Then it earns the ability to do that, but it hits you with that straight off the bat. So by the time I got later in the show, I didn't care about the stuff that they were doing that was 100% physically, rationally, and everything on the planet impossible, because I had fallen in love with so many other aspects of the show. if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
And then I could go like, okay, that's cool, and I can definitely forgive this for being this way because of all the other stuff. And now I'll just go like, no, you know what? That's really cool because for some reason you earned some kind of credit with me where now I don't care that this is ridiculous. I can just go, all right, that's awesome that happened, even though it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. So. No,
it's weird too because I've been thinking, I guess going to these conventions and stuff lately, like I've been to 2 now, where I'm starting to feel, and I don't even want to like, I feel weird saying this, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe anime is like a young person's game. Because I kind of get this vibe from a lot of people our age where it's like, oh, well, I jumped off here, or I jumped off here is like the last one that I watched was Cowboy Bebop, or, for someone it was Naruto or something like that. But even like, okay, here's a good example, and it's completely different from Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill in the sense that it looks beautiful. Attack on Titan, hated it. Hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Attack on Titan.
I thought it looks fantastic, but I was like, these are the stupidest monsters I have ever seen.
See, now, and this is where we're going to differentiate only because of my phobia, I think. Because those monsters kind of tap into that a little bit.
Of the creepy, like,
humanoid thing.
Okay, yeah. Because to me, it's just like, okay, it's naked, very Japanese-looking people, which is interesting just in the sense that very few anime actually have characters that look Japanese. Mm-hmm. But it's like they've just got these moronic grins on their faces and they eat people. And all right.
But it has this weird thing where like their limbs are too long and they have this really blank look and their mouths are way too big and have way too many teeth in them. And it's just like, you take the human physique and you tweak it in weird ways and you have me creeped out.
Right. Yeah. And for me, I'm just like, that's so dumb.
Yeah, I guess it's just different things. And I almost wonder if maybe that sort of discomfort from looking at things like that isn't as uncommon as I think it is for me. Because apparently other people kind of resonate with that as well. Maybe not as severely as I do, but, Like, I don't look at those things and go, like, okay, I can't watch this. This is terrifying. But they just, they are creepy.
Yeah, well, and I think specifically, like, Japan is probably right there with you, because if you look at Japanese, like, horror manga and stuff like that, a lot of it is just that. It's just slightly off humanoids that are just so, like some, we were talking about Corpse Party before we started recording, but, like, some of the creepiest parts in Corpse Party are when some of the kids go a little crazy and all of a sudden their eyes are like twice as big as they were and they have this grin that kind of goes from like ear to ear.
Yeah,
and, it's like,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. And that seems to be like I don't want to call it a trope just yet, but I've seen that the stretched out mouth going back like to the end of the jaw.
Right.
To show like all the teeth. I've seen that in a few places in like the last 8 or 10 years or so in anime, so it's like become a thing.
Yeah, that and I think going back to like, well, definitely towards the end of Eva, but I've noticed it a lot since then, is when they do the like fisheye lens with but with a big emphasis on the eyes like bugging out, and with the really tiny pupils and the tiny chin because of the way that the angle of the shot is. That's definitely a thing that I've noticed a lot over the years.
There was I still remember too, like this, I remember being at college watching Evangelion, and there's the big reveal that happens. So, you and I have grown up watching, not really necessarily knowing it, but watching giant robot like mecha anime. Mm-hmm. So we are very familiar with, this is what the robots look like, this is what they do. But there's that part in Evangelion where the armor breaks.
Right.
And I'm just like, I remember my hair standing up going, whoa, what is this? And that was like the hook moment for that show. And then they went away from it and didn't come back to it for like maybe 4 episodes more. So I don't know. Like, I almost feel like I haven't quite gotten that feeling from another anime since. And I keep looking for it. and Gurren Lagann has moments that did get reactions from me, but not that one. So, I don't know. Like, I guess you always kind of look for something like that, and it doesn't come.
Yeah, I've been looking for an anime to get into that's, recent, because I watch so much anime, like, as a tween/teen/young adult, And, it's been a while, but I find myself just enjoying revisiting the stuff that I always loved. Like, I'm having a blast going back through Ranma 1/2. Like, it's still one of my all-time favorites.
I watched that.
Oh, it's so good, so funny. And the Blu-ray, I mean, the idea of getting like 2D animation on Blu-ray is kind of weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
But then this is like the first like, anime that I bought on Blu-ray. It's like, oh no, I don't mind rebuying this in this format. To the point that one of these days I'll probably repurchase Dragon Ball Z, but I'm going to be smart and wait until they do the inevitable like whole series box set, because they've been releasing them as individual seasons. But I'm smart. I learned my lesson. It took me 5 times because I bought it on VHS, and then I bought individual DVDs, and then I bought the DVD box set. So I didn't buy the Blu-rays.
How long is that series?
It's 300 episodes.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's 9. Well, it's 9 seasons of Dragon Ball Z and 5 seasons of Dragon Ball, I think. I haven't finished Dragon Ball. I have all 5 seasons on DVD. I'm on season 3. Dragon Ball, I think you should watch.
How long is Ranma?
Ranma, I have not finished Ranma, but Ranma's like 5 seasons.
You're like the 5th person recently that's not the 5th, maybe like the 3rd that's actually talked to me about Ranma, and I'm like, man, you guys are making me curious now because everybody's talking about this. There must be something to it. I always just thought it was, I don't know. Do you think it's something I would even like, or?
I think so. It's zany. It's one of those anime, and I get a lot of flack for this, but there's a lot of anime that I only watch dubbed. Because I am of the mind, I was just thinking about this yesterday actually, but yes, Japanese voice actors are good voice actors, but they also tend to overact in a lot of situations, where I think a good like English dub will accentuate the characters and kind of, and also, we've talked about localization versus translation. Ranma is one of those where they actually localize, so the jokes make sense in English. The English voice cast for Ranma 1/2 is excellent, and I don't watch it in Japanese. Like I've tried, and I'm like, no, that's not shampoo. That's not, Ryoga.
It's weird. Like sometimes they overdo it, and that's the thing. Like you don't need to call rice balls donuts. You just don't.
Right.
But at the same time, if they're making a pun that doesn't work in the language that your audience is listening in, which they love their word puns in anime, like in manga especially, but it doesn't carry into English, like even if you explain it.
Right.
Especially if you explain it, because then the joke is just like, I have to read this and then read this, and I'm like, no. You're not making me laugh with that. But I feel like to go back to even Evangelion, the voice acting then was not as good. But I found that back then, finding good voice acting was abnormal, which is why everybody our age is like, oh, I read the subtitles. I don't get dubs, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but Evangelion is one of those that I actually hold up, like, as good, because, like...
I am still with the whole Shenji's voice is nails on a chalkboard. I'm with you on,
But he sounds like...
Like a nasally, whiny little brat. I know, and he's supposed to be a nasally, whiny little brat. Exactly. I get it. I just can't stand it.
I must have run away lines. Like I think it sounds so good in English. Like, and we might differ, but it's a good point also because I
watched the dub. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Asuka, she's supposed to be like... I
watched the dub and I did the subs, and I like them both
for different reasons. I'm sure.
For different reasons. It's the same reason. Like there's some movies, it's just different things. Like I almost think like even if you're gonna pick that anime apart, some episodes work better dubbed, and some of them work better subbed. It's Definitely. Weird. It's not consistent. There's some movies I have that are better subtitled than they are dubbed because, sometimes you can't convey it in the amount of time, or one actor talks longer than the other, and, they have to really modify the language so it doesn't work. It's just different things that make this a very complicated thing, bringing stuff from one culture and language over to another one.
Yeah, a perfect example is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I was
thinking Hero, but that works too.
Well, okay, yeah, because I think the translation in the dub is actually better because in the subtitles they change all the characters' names because they make them easier to read basically, and then in the dub they actually call them by pretty close to what they're actually being called, and I was like, okay, that I get that, like you wouldn't be able to put this huge name or this difficult to pronounce name in the subtitle and have people, you would stumble on it, and then you would miss the rest of the dialogue. So, it depends on the situation.
And I was thinking Hero, but for the opposite reason, because that is so much better subtitled than it is dubbed. So much better. They convey so much more, and the translation and it's so much better subtitled. Yeah. It is the one movie that I'm like, if somebody's coming over to the house, I'm like, you don't understand. I understand if you don't, you have to be able to read fast and watch what's on the screen. And if you don't have practice doing that, it's nearly impossible. But if you can do that with this movie. It was one of the other things that people complain about is the color saturation, but they don't understand that like this was done before CSI Miami and all that crap when we were just like, let's just turn everything yellow. But anyway, that is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, it's in my top 5. Hero is. So.
Pretty sure you've brought it up before.
I love that movie.
That was some anime talk.
That was some anime talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say just real quick that Dragon Ball Z is one of those that I only watch subtitled. Like that one and Slayer is like refuse to watch dubbed. I just can't do it. But
yeah.
So I have certain ones, but for the most part I prefer dubs. Come at me, bro.
Oh, it just depends.
No, not you. I just mean the listeners.
Oh, gotcha. The cool thing about that was I watched, like, there's a very clear breaking point in the narrative of that show, and they even have a recap episode. The recap episode, by the way, is the one episode I will say is terrible, and they're like, it's the coolest recap episode ever, but it's all done in that, it's all done, like, sketchy and weird. It's like that art style, but black and white and cranked up to 15 where it doesn't belong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Some people probably looked at that and thought, no, that's really cool, man. It's really abstract and awesome. I'm like, okay, great. It's a modern art masterpiece. Go with it. It didn't grab me, but that was a great place to leave off. So I left myself hanging at this one point where things had wrapped up to a certain point, but there's one dangling thread that was emphasized. And then you come back and then that resolves. So that was a really cool breaking point and then resuming of that, because then I had the vacation in the middle. So It worked out really well. But then I got back. Oh, 2 things, too. I forgot to talk about when I was talking about the vacation. I cannot believe I forgot to mention this. Did you ever see that commercial where there's like a lady on a surfboard and she's like surfing, and then it zooms out and she's on a boat?
Possibly.
And it's like, why not surf on a boat on the ocean, like that one?
I think I've seen that, yeah.
That was the boat we were on.
Oh.
So that thing was on the boat, and my kids did it.
Oh, but you didn't?
It was kind of awesome.
You didn't do it?
No.
Oh, Angelo.
I kept wanting to, and I kept looking at it, but it was mostly the line. I'm like, I'm not. My wife's in the other room mocking me. Probably deservedly so. No, I didn't do it. And the other thing I didn't do, which I'm kicking myself over both of these, because thinking back, it's like, you should have at least tried it. It's like, but then your brain goes through these nightmare scenarios of you wiping out and just looking ridiculous and all this other stuff, even though everybody else is doing the same thing.
They're all going to laugh at you.
Right, exactly. Then you get locked in the closet with a horrifying statue. The other thing was it was called Ripcord. And it was a tube, a big tube, and with a giant fan on the bottom, and it was a skydiving simulator.
Oh,
and
nice.
You put on a special suit, and you go in that thing, and you kind of like fly and move around. And I was looking at this thing like I wanted to do it, and I saw people in it, and they're like ripping down one side and up the other of this tube, and then like hanging out on top and like flipping around and doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, I will redecorate that place with whatever I ate before I went in there. So that is not happening. So it turns out that those people were actually staff, and it was after hours, and they were actually training the new staff, because the boat if any of you guys are listening to this and want to go on that boat, you can't. It's actually in China now. They recommissioned it to be in China, but there is a sister ship that they made that is going to be here called Anthem. So we'll get it, but it's not ready yet. Anyway, they were training the new staff that had Chinese as their first language for when the boat was going to be operating out of China. So that's why that was going on. And I'm looking at these people going, "That's not happening." It's because they were training the new people. Right. Okay. And then somehow my oldest ended up doing it though, and it was pretty cool. Like he actually kind of took to it better than most of the other people did in his group. So that was kind of neat to watch. But all they have those people do is like lay flat and like roll around like on their back and do like a couple other little things. They're not ripping around inside that tube doing crazy stuff. So my fears were sadly misplaced, and I probably could have done that, but I didn't.
Yeah, we've got an indoor skydiving thing in Austin called iFly that I kind of want to do, but I still feel like I need to lose like another 20 pounds at least before I feel comfortable doing it. There's a lot of things that I'd like to do if I was just smaller.
This had the iFly tag on it, so it's the same manufacturer.
Interesting.
That's
okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Quick shout out. I was on Twitter the other day. Well, the other day, it was like a week ago. And during the another big Steam sale, it was a Humble Bundle. And one of the guys that I follow and that I talk to kind of regularly on Twitter had bought the bundle and had some duplicates. And they were real-time strategy games. And I'm not a big fan of real-time strategy. I mean, I try to like them, but I always just get overwhelmed and just like, no, can't handle it. Make it turn-based and I've got it, but make it real-time and I'm not. But they were the Dawn of War games, the 40K ones.
Okay, yeah.
And I love 40K. So just like, we were talking about them and this, that, and the other thing, and he had offered them to people. And I said, I don't like RTS games. I said, but if you don't have anything else to do with those, I'll take them. But if anybody else wants them, give them to them, because I don't want to take something that somebody else is actually going to enjoy. And then a couple hours later, he was just like, yeah, nobody wants them, so here you go. So I ended up with the two Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2. And I played them. And I still feel overwhelmed. Just because I don't feel like I'm fast enough. Like, first of all, Dawn of War is kind of like early PS2 era looking, or Dawn of War is kind of early PS2 looking graphics, where like you can definitely see like the face is a couple of flat polygons with a polygonal nose sticking out with a texture map on it, like that kind of thing.
Right.
But there's also a million of them on the board, so it kind of makes sense. And everything looks great when you're zoomed way out, but when the camera zooms way in, it's like, ooh. Animations are just really cool. Like when you build a base, it doesn't spawn out of the ground, like it drops from orbit and just like crashes into the ground and then like expands into whatever the building was that you ordered. And if you order reinforcements, you're not building them in the base. So there's this like there's like a thing to catch this pod that just goes flying into it, just slams into this thing, and the reinforcements are in this pod, and then they come out and join. Then you make a squad out of them. So it's really cool. I really like it. Carbon's the name of the guy who gave it to me. Thank you very much. I do want to keep playing them, but I just keep every time I turn around, it's like, oh, here's 5 more things that we're going to 5 more mechanics and other paths that you have to remember to build stuff. And the other thing about getting something on Steam is when you got this stuff on PC back in the day, it came in a box with a manual. This does not come with a manual. It has a tutorial, but I know the tutorial isn't going to the detail that the manual would. It's just saying do this, 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 and this. I don't know what my key bindings are. I don't know a lot of the other stuff that would probably help me a little bit.
It should
I could look
have
up online.
It should have a digital manual that you can read.
Oh, probably.
It
I
should.
haven't really.
Wait. So, Angelo, does this mean that you have a Steam account now? Is that what you're saying?
I do.
Oh.
Personal Steam account.
Because I know you've been holding it off for a long time.
Yeah.
Angelo.
I got one.
Angelo. Go get FTL. Do it right now. Go play FTL.
I know. I heard it's really good.
Thank me later.
This is. So what is happening right now and you're doing this to me, is it's cracking open the Pandora's box that I didn't want to open because I'm looking at my backlog, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shelves of games. I mean, they're small shelves, but they're shelves of games that I haven't played, and I'm about to add more.
No, I trust me, because like I forget about my PC backlog, and then I'll open up Steam. It's like, oh crap, I've got 20 games here that
Right.
I have. Some of them have never even been installed, but they were so cheap.
Yep.
They were so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm coming to a conclusion, Angelo, and I think about it more and more, and I actually want to do an episode about this. But I'm really starting to feel, and I think you might be. I know you want to talk about this later, as far as like your feelings on this generation. But I'm starting to feel like I'm coming to an end as far as being in the zeitgeist and following this stuff on the bleeding edge and buying games when they come out and stuff like that. And I really feel like I'm going to go into this like gamer retirement, so to speak, where I'm not getting the new hotness, but hey, I've got 100 games here that I've been squirreling away all these years, and it's time to go visit those. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't feel as bad about the backlog anymore, because I feel like it's almost like an investment in like that time period when I still want to play video games, but I don't necessarily want to buy whatever comes next.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you on that. I also think that part of that is maybe why I've started to get more into board games. First of all, it's something that I can play with the rest of the family too. So recently I was just like, oh, hey, cool. New Final Fantasy 14. It runs on my computer. Well, that means it probably runs on my wife's computer, and that probably means it runs on this other one that I can hook up to this screen here, and hey, maybe we could all play it. And then I look up the actual, like, how much would that cost?
Right.
And it's like, no, that's stupid. If there's not some sort of a family deal where you can pay like $20 a month and everyone can play, there's no point in me doing this, because it just becomes really, really stupid expensive.
Yeah, and like even WoW doesn't do that, and that's surprising. Like there should be some sort of like bundle thing.
You would think.
Yeah, or at least because I know like Final Fantasy 11 and 14, you can have multiple characters under one account, but you can only log in with one at a time. But you pay like an extra $1 for each character or whatever. But that should be something that you can do. And I understand like, well, they want to make their money and stuff like that. But if it's like clearly like, no, this is a family account, like maybe pay a little more. Like maybe it's like an extra $3 per character for that. But yeah, I mean, there should be some sort of way to do that.
So here's just something that happened is I took the kids down to the clock tower to the game store in the area. Professor Bonds, it's called. And we went down there, and I brought Relic. And the kids were playing Magic, and I opened up the Relic board. Oh, no, somebody saw me coming in with a box. Somebody just saw me coming in with a box. He goes, dude, what's that? I said, oh, it's Relic. It's like Talisman, but in the 40K universe. He goes, you can play it? I was like, yeah, I'm going to play it. You want to play it? He's like, yeah. So now I have somebody to play it with. I get down, and I set it up, and I start kind of like going over the rules a little bit. And somebody else walks up. And somebody else walks up. And before I know it, we have a 4-player game going.
Nice.
Of this game that I just walked in with a box, So when the kids were next to me playing Magic, and these guys were over here, and we're all playing the board game, we had a great time. I had like the social stuff that used to come when I was a kid from going over to my neighbor's house and like, let's play Double Dragon, or hey, let's hang out in the basement and play Street Fighter and pass the controller around. Whoever loses passes, that kind of stuff. Like all that isn't in video games anymore. Now it's in board games, which is weird, right? Like that's where I'm finding that.
Which is a weird, because when you think about it, like it was in board games, and then it was in video games, and it's always been in board games, but it's interesting that you're coming to it from that direction, because it's always been there, but for our generation, it's been like, well, no, we socialize with video games,
right? But then it's like, also, if you look at the complicated board games back then, they were all like Axis and Allies, right. And I don't know, like the games that were at that level. And now I feel like there's a more variety, and some of it's more imaginative. Not that Axis and Allies isn't imaginative, but you know what I mean? Like Now I can play with freaking Space Marines shooting space orcs with chainsaw blade guns, and I mean that's somebody else is going to just yell at me for that because that's not all what Relic is, but you know what I mean. There's all the imagination and creativity and craziness is actually in that universe now. I played a Lord of the Rings co-op game with my brother and his girlfriend when they came over to the house, and it played really well, and everybody loved it because the majority of the people around the table love Lord of the Rings. So everybody was kind of into it. And it was a really great game, and it was co-op, so we're all talking and strategizing and working out a plan so that we can beat this game that's trying to kill us. And that's I don't remember that being in board games when we were kids. You know, I think that's something that's not necessarily new, but it's my oldest. Maybe it existed back then, but it certainly wasn't very popular. And now it's real popular. All the board games I remember playing when I was younger were competitive. There were no co-op ones.
Yeah, and I've actually, I for a couple years there I was going to a game night with a group and really had a lot of fun with it, and I can't go anymore, but I really miss it. I was just thinking the other day, I was like, man, I miss those guys, and I miss playing Pathfinder or Munchkin or what have you, because it's just a good time, and that communal aspect of it, getting together with like-minded people and making stupid jokes while you're playing either against each other or with each other is something that I really enjoyed and hadn't realized that I was missing until I had it and then didn't have it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting. I played Terra Mystica finally with my oldest the other night, and we didn't play like a full game because we're still trying to figure it out, so we played like part of the game. Kind of figure out how the mechanics and everything worked. And I watched it click with both of us, but I watched it click with him, where he started to realize, hey, if I get ahead in the early game where I start to get all this stuff that generates resources for me, then I can make bigger moves late game and get more points. So I'll be behind in the beginning, but I'll be ahead in the end. And he started to put that plan into action. I was like, oh, he's got it. That's really cool to see. And we're talking back and forth the whole time. So we're socializing. And I mean, he's 15. He's 15. A lot of parents have a little trouble talking with their teenagers sometimes.
Right.
And I part of it might have been just, hey, here's something really complicated and really deep. I'm going to treat you like an adult. Let's do this. Let me throw this at you and see. Maybe that was part of what helped. I mean, we didn't get like uber personal or anything, but we talked and we had fun. So I don't know. Like, I feel like that's where that is now. Maybe more so because I have a family right now too. But also like all the multiplayer for video games is online. And I don't feel, this is going to sound stupid. I don't feel welcome in that space a lot of times.
No, yeah.
I feel like it's just for the super competitors who take this way too seriously, and everybody else isn't welcome. And I've never been that way with video games. Like, my brother and I would get halfway through a game of Double Dragon and just end up punching each other in the face and laughing hysterically. Same thing with Balloon Fight. Like, we'd start Balloon Fight saying, now we're not popping each other's balloons. But we'd play that game for all of 10 minutes before somebody would accidentally pop somebody's balloon and all hell would break loose. Like, that was just how it went. And it was fun.
Dude, isn't it wonderful that you can play something like Balloon Fight on like NES Remix and know how to play it?
Yeah.
Sorry. That
is a great game.
It's one of the funniest things Patrick's ever said, and I'm looking forward to putting into that best of episode. Callbacks.
Patrick and the whole. You have two buttons, Patrick. A and B.
But no, man. I mean, there's still the thing with the multiplayer stuff, and it's funny because I'm actually really looking forward to that Star Wars Battlefront game, even though it's only multiplayer. But I'm looking forward to it if I can get like, Patrick and JD playing it, and I haven't played anything with them multiplayer, but that's something that I would be interested in doing with people that I'm comfortable with, and try it out and maybe dip my toes into. But there's still some couch co-op stuff in there. Like, I'm actually going up to Colorado to go visit my best friends for a week here at the end of the month, and I'm bringing my PS4 and Diablo 3 so that while my friend Joe is at work, because he's gonna have to work like for the part of the week, Shanna and I can just like stay in and just like play some Diablo, because I love playing games like that with her, and she doesn't have a PS4, so we can't do it online, but you know, it's a you can play up to 4 players on the same screen, so looking forward to that.
Yeah. But I almost think there's two, like that's not, like, people do meet each other that way, I suppose, online and stuff like that, but I don't know, like, when you're a kid and there's a new kid in town or a new kid at school and you end up hitting it off with them and you come over to the house, like, what's the one thing you have in common? Everybody plays video games. So let's play a video game. Oh, man, you have the new Teenage Mutant Turtles too. I want to play that. Let's play that. You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
That was kind of like the feeling I got when I walked into that place with that box and people were like, I want to play that. Let's play that. You know? People I didn't know. I ended up sitting around the table with 3 complete strangers. Like, it got halfway through the game before I was like, hey, what's your name? I don't think I ever got your name. It was kind of funny. So,
no, that's really good. That's a good point, and I'll definitely kind of come back to that when I talk about one of the big games that I've started playing again recently. I was going to say, you know, you brought up like your son strategizing and coming up with this battle plan and stuff. You know what I'm really bad at, Angelo? Is strategizing and coming up with a battle plan for freaking Hearthstone. God damn it.
The game won, didn't it?
Well, it won in the sense that I've now spent like normal PS4 retail on it, because I went a little crazy. I was actually like buying some clothes, and it was going on the plastic. I was like, oh, hey, they have Hearthstone cards here, so I don't have to use my Apple account for this. I'll just, there's 2 of them for $20 each. Okay, sure.
Wait, what do you mean Hearthstone? Oh, like cards that you scan in and he gives you credit?
Right.
Okay. I thought they had actual cards that you were scanning into the computer. It's like, that's cool.
No, that'd be even more dangerous. But no, these are just like, you know, like almost like, you know, you see them like the points cards or whatever. They have them now at stores, but I got a couple of those. But it doesn't work as elegantly as I would like it to for the mobile version. You have to go log into Battle.net on the computer, apply your money, but then you can't actually buy stuff in the mobile version. You have to get on to the actual proper PC game and do it from there. So I've got like a whole bunch of money that I could spend on cards, but I've been too lazy to like log in to the PC version. I did a little bit. Got this really awesome card for my hunter. It's a Tyrannosaurus that's 8/8 and has charge.
That's fun.
It's a legendary, and so it's really cool too, because like when you land it, it actually, you hear like the trumping or the tramping of like his footsteps before he actually appears. Nice. So I've been winning some games. Yeah, totally.
Nice.
I've been winning some games with my hunter, but I've been trying, you know, I've been trying all these different strategies with Paladin, because you had mentioned, you know, that my hunter strategy might work for Paladin. But man, it's like I can't get anything done. It's like almost every time. I mean, I played like 10 games last night, and I had to like concede all of them at a certain point. Because it's just, you know, you get to a point where it's like, no, I can't come back from this, because somehow I've got nothing on the board, and they've got, you know, 4 characters. 2 of them have taunt, and the other 2 are jacked up so high that there's no way that I can overcome this. And it's like, okay, writing's on the walls, and it happens every time. And it's like, I see, you know, where I've got inklings of strategies. I have this one card. It's like an wandering adventurer, and it's just a 3/3. But every time you play a card, he gains 1/1, and so, you know, you can potentially bump him up really fast.
Yeah. Everybody knows that card, and they kill it as soon as they see it.
Well, but the thing is like, even if I have a chance to bump it up, it's like, oh, well, here's this card that kills anything with like 5 attack or higher, or blah, blah, you know, it's like there's an answer to everything. But I never have those answers in my deck or in my hand. It's like people put stuff out, it's like, nope, I can't do anything against that. I had one today. It was like I was whooping the guy like 30, and he was down to 8, and then he brought me down to like 2, and I was like, okay, like just completely dismantled me at the end. And I never get that. Like, I never have that feeling, and it's frustrating, you know, like, you want to have fun. It's not fun losing every single time. And yes, I'm fully admitting that I suck at Hearthstone. Like, you don't have to tell me that in the comments. That's true. But I don't. Every once in a while, it's like I can almost see. It's like, wait, it's right there, just out of reach. The strategy, it's gone.
So if you want to, that's the thing. If you want to build a strategy around that particular card, then you have to actually build the whole deck around it.
Right, and I don't have that ability.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I don't want to go online and be like, oh, well, here's like a paladin deck that you should put together, because that's no fun.
No, like, it's not.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm still tweaking with some stuff, and like I had redone my mage deck to like kind of gear it around like I had all these like cards based around freezing and frost characters and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then that ended up like not working because it's like, oh, I'm not actually doing much damage. I'm just like keeping them from damaging me. So that's not actually working out too well.
So I mean, I don't think I think maybe you should go online and find out what other people are doing, but just there's ways to look at people and like, here's the strategy of this deck, and here's how that strategy is carried out. But you don't have to rip that off. You can go, oh, that's how you build a strategy in a deck,
right? And
then sort of take that, because that's how to play the game. You know, that's not it's not cheating necessarily. Now, if you copy card for card somebody else's deck, then that's just then you're not really playing. You're playing somebody else's strategy against another person. Which what's the fun in that?
I did finally get my whole phalanx of dogs out with my hunter the other night, which was pretty satisfying because I have this one where it's like for every enemy minion you get like a 1/1 dog that has charge, and he had his whole board full, and so I just like unleashed the hound, so to speak, and it's only 1/1, but like it adds up. And then when you've got like another card out there that and I think I had one that actually bumped them up to like 2/1, and so that's like. Right. Like 10 damage right there, plus like the other one that I had out to begin with. It's like, that finally paid off. And then of course they got annihilated the next turn because it was like, oh, here's this card that does 2 damage to everything, and now you have nothing on the board and you lose.
Yeah. So there's a strategy. There's a strategy there. It's like, well, my strategy is I'm going to put 2 of these cards in the deck, and then 2 of these cards in the deck, and I'm going to build the deck around getting those out and getting them played. And it would be like, let's fill the board with these dogs, and then play a card that bumps them all up +3/+3.
Right.
Because then you have a horde of monsters.
Yeah.
Right?
See. Yeah. And that's the thing is that like I know that that's what I want to do, but I rarely get the chance to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Is it's like, now how do you facilitate this? A lot of times you can't rely on, say, your opponent to create the opportunity for you to do that. You have to create the opportunity yourself. It's always more reliable to do it that way.
Right.
And if you're saying, okay, if they have that many minions on the board, then that's what I get, but then you're relying on some very particular circumstances, and you have to kind of like take that out of the equation.
Yeah.
You have to build you have to build 90% of what actually happens yourself, not rely on somebody else to like build any part of it, except for like maybe they have like a minion or 2 on the board in order for your strategy to work. Anything more than that, and you're kind of taking a chance.
Yeah.
Well, you really are taking a chance.
And I had rejiggered my paladin deck to try to like bring in like tons of like guys with taunt and divine shield, but again, just like no, they're just gonna rip right through them. So I don't know, but I keep playing it, and those games are long. Like when you're actually like when that like when it's a competitive game, it's a good 10-15 minute long thing, and that's time that I could be spent playing something else, which I haven't been.
I accidentally built a couple of decks that were too defensive, and if you end up doing that, you can control the game so that your opponent can't play, but then you also can't play, and then it just whoever runs out of cards first starts taking damage, and man, you want to just freaking torture yourself. That's the way to do it.
Right.
I've done that. I was like, wow, that deck didn't really work. Let me try it again, and it happened like 2 or 3 times before I was like, okay, clearly this deck is way too defensive. It's not working.
So you're constantly healing yourself and getting your hit points back, but you're not doing anything.
Or no, what I'm doing is I'm keeping the board clean on their side, but I'm not creating any opportunities on my side. Like anything I summon, they can also deal with. Or anything I can do to deal damage with, they also have an answer for pretty easily. Like that was the problem I ran into, is there was a very easy answer for whatever I was playing. So whereas I had put together a great deck for dealing whatever anyone threw at me, I had no way to actually win the game.
Right.
So
maybe that's part of my problem.
Run into that problem too.
Maybe that's part of my problem.
Oh, maybe.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm still messing with it. I've got a lot more of lot more packs that I could potentially buy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, and I know we want to talk some E3 stuff, but I've got some more things. I mentioned it last episode. Well, I guess, yeah, I think it was last episode. No, actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't. I'm going to cut this. I mentioned that John, friend of the show, John Golson, and I were going to be doing a wrestling podcast focusing on Inspire Pro Wrestling, which we've talked about on the show here a couple times. It is now up. It is live. It is called Slam Masters. Yes, it is.
And it is good.
It is. Oh, thank you.
It is good.
It's based on, the fact that we both loved Saturday Night Slam Masters. It kind of ties in our love of wrestling with our love of, video games and stuff like that. Angelo was nice enough to listen to it for me to kind of, I wanted to see what it sounded like to someone who's just kind of like a very casual observer of this stuff, because he's watched some Inspire Pro matches on YouTube, but obviously he can't get to Austin to watch a live match. Mm-hmm. But, very happy with the reception. If you're interested, like if you've heard me talking about any of this stuff on Nerds Without Pants and you're interested in wrestling at all, definitely go check it out. It's on iTunes. It's called Slam Masters. You can also find it at John's comic book blog, guttersandpanels.com. But just wanted to say that I've really been happy with the warm reception from not only fans of Inspire Pro, but the actual people that work for Inspire Pro and the talent. The last time that we went to a show, the photographer for Inspire Pro actually brought us backstage and took our official, unofficial photos
nice.
as the podcast team. And it was really cool because we were like backstage, so to speak. So we got to see like the wrestlers kind of hashing things out for the next event and just kind of like with their guard down, just being themselves. And, that was really cool to see. We're actually going to be recording with Steve Orino, who's the J Crown champion. He's that's basically the cruiserweight champion, tomorrow night. And, we talked to him after the matches just to kind of lock down a time. And, he was very pleased with the show and, thanked us profusely and got my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference that I mentioned in the first episode. And I was like, that is weird and awesome that you of all people are the one that got the joke, because I didn't think that anybody was going to get it. So that stuff is really cool. It's kind of funny because like when John and I went to our first Inspire Pro show, I was like, hey John, let's be those guys that have wrestlers as friends. Let's be those guys. And it's like, that might happen. Like, Steve-O's coming over to John's house tomorrow to record and we're going to have dinner together. And it's like, that's surreal. I've never, I've spoken to wrestlers before. I talked to The Miz at E3 back in 2010, but this is going to be like, hey, let's just be ourselves and chit chat, like that's just a really cool thing. Really looking forward to that. And also like, I've talked about it on the show before, but I'm pretty well introverted and it's hard for me to like interact with new people or, be in these new situations, but I'm really trying to branch out and I think this is a way to do it. Like just kind of making new friends and seeing where it takes me and, go on a little adventure, I guess. So there's definitely that. And to the end of going on adventures, old adventures, but sort of new adventures, I updated and jumped back into Final Fantasy XI.
Really?
Yes. Which is a game that I've been on again and off again, mostly off again, for 12 years now. I've been playing since the PS2 launch. But I don't know if you've heard, Angelo, but Square Enix did announce that they will be closing the PS2 and Xbox 360 servers next year.
I had heard about that.
Yeah.
I'll bet there's a few unhappy people out there.
Yeah, I'm one of them. My best friend Shan is one of them because she plays on the Xbox. She doesn't have a PC. She has a Mac, but she pretty much once they close the server, she's probably done.
Wow.
And she's played that game for like over 8,000 hours. So, like,
wow.
It's going to be a sad day for her when that goes down. But, I was thinking about it. I was like, man, there's still so much that I never did in that game. I never finished like the Nation quests. I never finished Chains of Permathia. I always wanted to get my first character to like max level of Ninja. That was my plan when I very first started the game. I was like, I'm going to have a 2-foot tall ninja. It's going to be the coolest thing ever. And then, I got him to like level 32 monk and I got him up to level 4 ninja, and I never, whatever. I started my second character, and I've been playing on him more. But yeah, and I was like, no, I'm gonna make a concerted effort to like try to do a lot of this stuff, before the servers close. And man, like it's sad, Angelo, because I got on there and it's like I was walking around and it's like I have not seen another player. Like there's nobody around, and I was searching. I was like, there's nobody here. But the reason is that everybody's in the new area from the last expansion. But even then, there's only like maybe like 500 or 600 people there, as opposed to the thousands that used to be on the server.
Or they're in 14.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like and I've heard about this with like old MMOs where once you get to a certain age of the player base, as far as like veterans and stuff like that, they just kind of naturally migrate away from the beginning areas. But it's really sad to see. Like Shannon and I were playing there, and I was like, because we were doing some basic stuff. They've made a lot of things streamlined that it was much needed. You can now teleport between home points, and they I don't know, quadruple the number of home points in the game. So we were going around like touching home point crystals in the starting areas just to have those accessible. But I was like, Shanna, we haven't run into another person in I don't know how long. She's like, yeah, well they're all in Adeline right now. And it's like, well, it's kind of sad, but they've done a lot of things to make the game more accessible to new players, but also easier for leveling for like veteran players. Like if you want to start like a new job, like it's a lot easier to get started. They have this thing now called Records of Eminence, where it's almost like an in-game achievement system that's divorced from like the actual like Xbox Live achievements, where it's like get to level 30 and you unlock like it's a one-time quest that you get this much experience for. But the thing is that it's also cumulative. So like with my main character, I was able to just like unlock all of these things, and like I went up like 15,000 experience just like by going through menus basically.
Wow.
But as a new character, it's really awesome because it's literally like, oh, well, here's a quest for fighting your first enemy. Here's a quest for talking to your first NPC. Like basically just like one by one, like kind of teach you how to play the game. And it's like, dude, I wish I worked for Square Enix, because things like that, if they would advertise that and make it known to people, you would get in like this huge influx of new players. Because one of the things that's been like that's kept Final Fantasy XI from being as popular as it could have been was that it was impenetrable at the beginning. It was so hard.
No, I needed somebody. We played it a little bit, and it was like one of our friends knew the game well enough, and we were all like, how would you ever know any of this?
Exactly.
It's like, well, I just know it because I played it or whatever. Like he'd been playing it for a while. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's by yourself. That game is impossible. Like it requires you to almost have people that you're playing with before you even start playing the game, or at least it used to.
Yeah,
it's kind of ridiculous.
That's how it was for me. I actually met people on forums before the game even came out for PS2. They were playing on the PC, and I just befriended a bunch of these people, and that's how I chose my server and everything. And that's how I got my first link shell. It's through that forum. But some of the stuff is great because it's like it makes it easier to solo, it makes it easier to get started, and I do think that stuff, like if they would make that a little bit more upfront, really, like the NPC that starts off this feature, they should flag you down before you can actually move. Like there should be a cutscene that says, "Hey, go talk to me," because otherwise I wouldn't have known about this. Like she had to show me. My friend Shannon had to show me about this. I wouldn't have known, but it's a really crucial thing, and so that stuff is really cool. Like they should really try to get it out there. But at the same time, it's also kind of gotten the game away from the party-centric nature that it used to be. Because it used to be that once you got past level 10, you couldn't complete things without having a full party. Which was rough sometimes if you were trying to look for a group. But it also fostered this really tight-knit community. And it's like the way that it is now, I have my friend Shannon to play with and, some old friends from back in the day. But I just don't see myself like meeting new people in Final Fantasy XI and having, like what you had with the board game where you just like meet some new strangers that become fun to play with. And maybe you'll play with those people again. Right. That's how it was on 11. It's like I would get into a party, have a good rapport with like 2 or 3 people from it, add them to my friends list, and then, hey, we party again. Or, hey, we're in a link shell together. I feel like that's kind of gone now, but at the same time, I'm playing with my best friend. We're on Skype. We're doing our thing. It's still a lot of fun. I definitely want to like make a big push for it. And I know you wanted to talk about something kind of segue into this, but I also want to just kind of put a pin on one thing about this, is that I really am curious as to what Square Enix has in store for E3 this year. Because, you know, they're in a weird spot, but one of the things, and I've been saying this for a while, is like, guys, just put Final Fantasy XI on Xbox One and PS4. It'd be a cheap port, you know, maybe lower the price of the monthly fee. I don't know, but there's still an audience there. They've done enough new things to the game to make it so much more inviting to new players. And I think, especially with like there not being a lot of stuff coming out on PS4 right now, that, hey, here's this MMO that people have been talking about for years and years and years. Why not try it out? Now, maybe they're worried about cannibalizing Final Fantasy XIV a little bit.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, but, you know, Final Fantasy XIV was originally just going to be like a new coat of paint for Final Fantasy XI, and I really wish that that's what it had been, because as much as I like Final Fantasy XIV, knowing how much that game almost bankrupted the company, like, just kind of wish that it didn't exist.
Excited about like the new console generation. Well, now that we're in the middle of it, I mean, you're talking about shutting down old servers for Final Fantasy XI, so obviously they're like, yeah, we don't need that generation anymore.
Yeah.
So here we go. It's got some stuff that I love. Like, I love, for example, the way the games look. I mentioned I fired up Wolfenstein, and I fired up or Wolfenstein, I guess, depending on who you talk to.
Wolfenstein.
Or Wolfenstein. I also, you know, of course, I played the 15 demo, which, by the way, they released a new version of. And that's a whole other thing. I want to get into that, too. But just some things are baffling to me, like how long it takes to download updates, how long it takes to download games. What a pain it is. Like, They almost pitched this thing like, here's the magical future where you push a button and all of a sudden this game is on your console and you can just play it. And it's nothing like that. Like, you set this thing up and God forbid I come home and think, oh, I want to play this tomorrow. I better set it up to download tonight. Who thinks like that?
Right.
You know? I mean, you and I grew up where it's just like, oh, I want to play Battletoads. Power. Play Battletoads. You know what I mean? That's it.
And then instantly regret that decision.
And you turn it on. I don't know, man. This is not the future we were promised. That's kind of like what I feel like. And I'm just laying that on how this is going, not necessarily like the games that are coming out, because what games, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the games are there, kind of, maybe. There's some
great stuff out there, but no, I was sold a bill of goods, sir. And
yeah. Here's one example, right? So, you know, Xenoblade, the sequel to Xenoblade is coming out, right? So I'm like, man, I really needed to finish the first one because I had gotten pretty far in it. But the only reason I hadn't finished it is because it was upstairs on my Wii, and we have the Wii U downstairs. And I was like, well, I'll play it downstairs on the Wii U, right? So first I was like, well, now how do I get the save? And that ended up being a fairly painless process. Like, I threw it on the SD card that was in the Wii, brought it down, slapped the SD card into the Wii U, created a profile on the Wii U, and there it was. I just dragged and dropped. It was real easy. But here's where it gets stupid. So I fired it up, go into the game, loaded up my save, and then I'm holding the tablet, and I'm like, well, this is great. I can do this. The kids can use the TV. I move the left thumbstick, and this little thing pops up that says, yeah, the controls on the Wii U gamepad aren't supported. You have to use a controller. So I have to put the gamepad down on a little desk, and I have to get a Wii remote, and I have to hook my Pro Controller up to that, and I have to play it that way. What is this nonsense? Like, I'm using the Pro Controller. It's the same thing as what's on the Wii U gamepad. It's the same thing.
And
what? How did this slip through?
Well, and I have heard from people in Japan that have been playing the new Xenoblade for the Wii U is that there are certain things at the beginning of the game that you cannot do without using the touchscreen on the gamepad. So even if you want to play with like the new like Wii U like Pro Controller, you can't get into the beginning of the game without the gamepad. So it goes in the other direction on that one. Like I don't know what's going on there.
And I mean it's stupid little things like that seem to be plaguing this generation more than any generation before. Like stupid nagging little. Okay, so I'm going to kind of take this into the PC world for a second, right? So to put some context on this, Steam just recently announced that they are going to do refunds. Gamers rejoiced. Other people not so much. And you have to think about this. Why? What if Ubisoft, for example, had released their latest Assassin's Creed debacle on Steam, and people fired it up, saw everybody's face melting off, and said nope, and pushed the refund button, right? They would have taken a bath. So now they have to release games that are, oh my gosh, working right out of the box. I mean, cue the little image of the Home Alone kid with his hands clapped to his face going, oh, it's, why is this a problem? I like this, and this is why I like this, because now anybody releasing a game on Steam has to make it so it doesn't ship like a piece of garbage. Right. You know what I mean? I wish they would do something like that on consoles, because man, did I want to fly through the roof when I put the new Wolfenstein game in there, and it said, you need an update, like right now, and it took me all night to download it. It's not what I came here for. I came here to play freaking Wolfenstein.
Well, and also, I don't know if you remember when they first announced the PS4, but the first two things that they showed about that system was, one, the suspend feature, where you could just, like, basically pause anything and then put it to sleep and then press a button and come right back. Okay, they just put that in, like, almost 2 years later. But the second thing that they showed first off the bat was, when you download a game from the PlayStation Store, there'll be like a, very small portion that you download, and then you can start playing the game and it'll stream the rest in the back.
Yeah, that very small portion is the title screen.
Yeah, and even then, I've never had that work. Like, every game that I've had where I started to download it, it literally doesn't give me the option to play it until it's done downloading the whole thing. And, you're preaching to the choir, Angelo, because I actually just played episode 4 of Telltale's Game of Thrones. It came out not this week, but last week. It was last Wednesday. I was like, awesome. I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm playing Game of Thrones, right?
No, you're not.
And see, here's the thing, is that I have my PS4 set to do auto updates and installs, right? So it had said, like, update for Game of Thrones installed. I'm like, cool. But then it started to download another update, and it was downloading like a 2.5 gig update for Game of Thrones and a 2.5 gig update for Bloodborne. Did those in like 10 minutes. Okay? Fire up Game of Thrones. I see episode 4 and it says purchase, not installed. I was like, what the crap? What did I just install, guys? So I go to hit install on it, and then it says it's going to be 5 hours to download that episode.
What?
And I was like, well, I guess I'm not playing Game of Thrones tonight, and I ended up not playing it for like almost a week. Because I just didn't have time after that, and, played it. It was good, but I was really excited to play it that night, and it couldn't happen. And it's like, that happens more and more often now. It's like, the whole, like, day one purchase is becoming, like, not even, like, alluring to me anymore, because it's like, why?
So here's the deal. Here's the thing that gives me hope, is that on the flip side, back in the day when we bought an NES or a Super NES or a PlayStation, we got what was in the box. Sony, Nintendo did not have any way to modify that after the consumer bought it. Right? 90% of the problems I have can be fixed. Okay? They can fix the back end of the PlayStation 4 and whatever's causing all this stuff. They can fix games that, God forbid, play off the disc. Nintendo can release a patch that now says I can play using the Wii U gamepad as my Pro Controller without having to hook up this Frankenstein's monster of peripherals to get everything working. Okay? This can be remedied if they really want to. You know what I mean? Like, the future is still there if you want it. Like, that kind of thing. It's just... Part of me wonders if we're losing our power as consumers to sort of make... it felt like we had more power back in the day where we could kind of force their hand to do certain things, and now it doesn't feel like we can do that because I don't know what. Like, Nintendo should be desperate for this. I don't understand what's going on here, but maybe they're like, no, we want to leave the Wii U behind, and we want to move on. We don't want to leave the Wii behind, and we want to move on with the Wii U. And we want to kind of almost discourage people from using that feature that allows them to play Wii games on their Wii U, which is buy Wii U stuff.
Right.
So
they put backwards compatibility in there to appease like the early adopters, but really like, guys, you're not going to use this, you know, like you're going to use it for like a month and then you're not going to talk about it anymore.
But I am, because the dream was I would be playing games on that while the kids are watching TV. And, you know, the majority of my backlog for that, I don't want to play on, you know, if I play a Wii U game and it's in HD and it looks gorgeous, I want that on my TV. But, you know, it looks pretty good on that little gamepad? Wii games. They look good on it.
Yeah.
They do.
Virtual console games also. Like, I wish that Nintendo would get off their asses on the Virtual Console and be like, hey, we're going to release everything that the Wii had on the Wii U, because I would buy so many Super Nintendo and Nintendo games for that sucker.
I don't understand. That's another thing, too. It's like, hey, our console isn't selling. Well, what if you just put out an announcement that said, oh, yeah, every game ever available for download right now. Watch the shelves clear. You know what I mean? I know it sounds weird, but I'll bet you people will buy that. Just say, like, okay, you buy a Wii U, we'll put in a $50 card that you can spend on the eShop to download classic games, which are like, what are they, like $5-10 a pop, depending, and $10 is excessive, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're not that expensive. People would buy that. They would. And
Oh, Angelo, you just gave me an excuse to use that Wii shop song for this episode. Thank you so much.
That song is brilliant. Oh, I can see the guy's face, like, right now. Buy the games.
So good.
Yeah, that was perfect. Oh, but anyway, and that kind of... Well, it's your show, but I think we're kind of like leading right into like E3, like how we're sort of on the fence on this one. Like, I'm not as excited about E3 this year as I was. You know, you take it back to like 3 years ago. I was like, E3, yes, I'm going to watch these press conferences and it's going to be awesome. And now it's like, yeah, E3, I'll wait for it to scroll across my Twitter feed.
Yeah, well, you know, and I have been so not the jaded gamer for so long, and it's just been like in the last year or two that it started to creep in. You know, and I've talked about it before on this show, where it's like I've been so nose to the grindstone on gaming for so many years that, you know, I never had that break. You know, everybody our age has like, oh, well, I wasn't playing games from here to here or blah blah blah. That's never happened for me. I have been playing, you know, hardcore, you know, since the Nintendo. So, you know, I've never had that. I've never gone away from it. And, you know, it's starting to settle in where it's like, you know, I'm not as excited about this stuff as I used to be. But I look to E3 to kind of like, I don't know, renew my vows almost with the video game industry. And, you know, it's been rough lately, and I don't even want to go into the whole thing. But, you know, if you follow the industry at all, you kind of know why I've been distancing myself from, you know, visiting websites or interacting with people on Twitter or even just caring about video game news for that matter. Like, it's just like, you know, also, I mean, there's a lot of things, but also like, you know, one thing is like, well, games are coming out broken. Or, going back to like the way the consoles work now, it's a real bummer when I buy a disc. Well, usually on Amazon now, because I go to like Best Buy and they don't even have the games on day one anymore. But I buy a game on day one, can't play it right away because I have to download a patch and install the game, which takes up a huge amount of room on my hard drive, which means that I can't actually play all of my games that I own because I had to delete Knack and Assassin's Creed 4 and Killzone to make room for Evil Within and Final Fantasy X in HD and stuff like that, because it installs the entire game for every single disc. Yeah. So why am I even buying the discs other than to like have them on a shelf at this point? I'm still looking forward to E3. My problem right now is that with my new job, I can no longer watch everything as it's happening. I have to wait until I get home. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Because not before 2013, like 5 years before 2013, I was getting to watch the stuff as it happened, like at work, because I had my laptop out, or whatever. I was just like watching them there. It was great. Can't do that anymore. So I'm actually going to be looking to you, Angelo, to like kind of hit me with some texts on the big things, so that when I get home that evening, I know what to like focus on. Because we will be doing at least 2 E3 specials. We're going to do the first one on Tuesday, which that'll give us time to have, gotten the meat of the main press conferences. But yeah, like I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably more excited about next year's E3, to be perfectly honest, because that's probably when Nintendo's going to unveil their new system, and they're going to have more Zelda, which they've already said that isn't going to be here this year, which super bummer. Really wanted to see more of what that game is going to be. I don't know. I find myself more interested in the smaller companies. Like I already mentioned Square Enix. Like, they could do a lot of things to make me really happy this year, and I hope that, they do some of them. Perhaps announce Final Fantasy 16?
Yeah. Is it weird that, like... No, you know what? I'm going to completely back off on that. I don't want them to announce Final Fantasy 16. I want them to figure out what the heck they're doing with 15 first. Because I don't know if you remember, but they did the demo, and then they released a survey. And it wasn't a survey like, what did you think of the graphics? What did you think of the sound? It was like, what do you want us to change? Did you like this character? What didn't you like about this character? Did you, it was like...
Are you freaking kidding me?
What?
That was the content of the survey? Like...
The survey was so specific that it was like, please guys, what game do you want us to make? Tell us what game you want us to make. It was like ridiculous. And,
that tells me that game is nowhere near finished.
Yes. That scares the crap out of me too, because I'll tell you what, I like get gamers' input.
Absolutely.
Do that. Get gamers' input. When you release the survey, get the results that tell you the camera is janky. Fix it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can't lock onto enemies for crap. Fix it. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But I don't want you to ask me for input about what quests you want us to do. That's your job. You're making this. Make the game. You know what I mean? I will tell you what you need to improve on to make it palatable. But I can't. You can't design a game by committee. You can't.
The only thing that I hope about that,
it almost seems like they're trying this, and that scares me to death.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that I would hope about that survey is maybe that it's not for Final Fantasy 15 in particular, but for them moving forward. Because if you remember when the Agnes philosophy
demo. Yeah.
Well,
okay, go on.
Well, when you remember when Agnes Philosophy came out, the big tech demo for the PS4 engine that they made, they had a survey for that also, but it was kind of like, well, what appealed to you from this presentation? Like, did you like the magic element of it? Did you like the character designs? Like, did you like the modern setting? Blah blah blah.
Did it have enough gorgeous beauty?
Yes, that actually was one, I think. And I hope that like it's more of like, well, this is kind of what we want to use to take going forward from Final Fantasy 15. Not that we don't have enough of 15 done at this point to where we can still like, shape some of this stuff. That's worrisome. But like, so, I think that like Bravely Default selling really, really, really well on the 3DS. That's the type of stuff that they should be taking and be like, oh, okay, this is what people want.
Yeah. And I will. My only counterpoint to that is they just released an update to the demo. Like, here's demo 2.0. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
scary.
here's the same demo, but with the tweaks that you asked for, and it's like, oh boy, oh guys, oh please. Oh man.
What they didn't tell us is that Final Fantasy 15 is actually like Destiny. It's a 10-year plan. So it's gonna be tweaked for the next decade before Tech 16 comes out.
You don't know what pain you just caused, like right here by even saying that, because it's plausible. But yeah, Bravely Default did great. There's a sequel coming out.
Yeah, I hope they show some of that at E3. I hope that there's more of Deus Ex. I'd like to see, some of the, okay, well, what would really make me super happy is a new Legacy of Kain game that isn't that weird Nosgoth thing that they're alpha testing or whatever, like an actual honest-to-goodness Kain game. But, and then some stuff that maybe we haven't heard of before. Like, I'd like to see some new IP. Like, Square Enix used to make some really interesting stuff, and not all of it stuck, but some of it did, so.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm really looking to E3 for, like, news and trailers, and I get plenty of that without watching the press conferences, as hard as that is to say. I mean, right now, the way the news works, I'm in the same situation as you. I am at work. I don't, I might be able to watch like one press conference that happens while I'm at work, but I doubt I'll be able to watch like all of them.
Yeah.
Just because breaks and lunches and like in between doing certain things and stuff like that. Like, I don't have the kind of job that lets me just run YouTube in the background while I'm doing other things, unfortunately. So it's just like, but that's where Twitter comes in, and it's amazing. Like, within 5 minutes of a press conference going up and them airing a trailer, the company responsible for that trailer will share it on Twitter, and then at least one of the journalists I follow will retweet it, and then I will watch it. Yeah. And then so I'll get everything that I need to without watching some mouthpiece in a suit say something painfully awkward to hear anyway. It's just
but sometimes there's those moments at the press conferences, like definitely the one where they announced the price for the PS4 was like, holy crap.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That is true. The PlayStation press conference that year where they were just like, they were like every 5 seconds it was like you could hear like the crack of their hand hitting Microsoft in the face.
Yeah.
Like over and over again. That was amazing. Yeah, okay, so that's true. I don't think we're going to get that this year, though.
Probably
The
not.
only thing is this the first year Bethesda has had their own conference?
Yeah, and actually for the last few years, Bethesda hasn't really had much of a presence at E3. They haven't had like a dedicated booth, or
Yep.
I should amend that. They've had a booth, but it's been by appointment only, and it's been completely walled off from the rest of the show. They already announced Fallout 4.
That's the thing. Like, they're the dark horse because it's like, okay, first of all, they've never had a press conference. Second, they already let their biggest cat out of the bag.
Or did they?
So it's like they can't build their conference around that. What are they going to show? Like, that's the one I'm really interested in. Microsoft is going to talk about, here's how we're tweaking the Xbox, and maybe here's our new hardware revision, which I think people have already sort of leaked that they're doing something like that.
Yeah.
Sony is going to be like, so here's where we'll see PlayStation in the next 5 years, and that sort of thing. They're not going to be as at each other's throat as they were, at least I don't think, a year or two ago. Oh man, that was fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of, the beginning of this console war was so awesome, and I feel like they've both cooled off so much, and it's like, no guys, like, keep going for the jugular, because that just makes the industry better as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, I think that they're stuck making up on all the, like we were talking about earlier. Now they're stuck behind the 8 ball because they offered all of these promises that aren't coming true necessarily, or they've come to partial reality, or they came to reality late, and all the good faith that they had really built up, it's almost like they have sort of an obligation to re-earn something. And Sony has already come right out and said, hey, don't expect a whole lot of first-party stuff from us this year. And that's a little weird.
Especially because there hasn't been a lot of first-party stuff in the last year or the year before that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know what to say about this. I'm so curious to see how it all shakes out, but I don't know.
No, it's becoming a little worrisome because, like, I think that Sony has lost a lot of that momentum that they had from that E3 moving into the launch. I mean, it was theirs to win, and then I really feel that, the Xbox One is rapidly, catching up to, because honestly, like, I'm thinking of libraries and stuff like that, and I still feel that the PlayStation 4 was the one to get for me. Because even if, like, it's a lot of third-party stuff, there's a lot of third-party franchises that, to me, are Sony. Final Fantasy 15, Sony. Metal Gear Solid 5, Sony. Even though it's going to be on both. But when you talk about exclusive stuff, looking at the Xbox One, I'm like, oh, man, like, that would have been fun to play. I'm not going to buy one because I'm not doing all 3 systems again this generation, but...
No.
Oh, I would have liked to play that and that.
Maybe toward the end.
Maybe, yeah. Once it starts to get cheaper, but...
That's what happened with me, was like toward the end I got my PS3 when it was cheap.
Yeah. But, it bothers me a little bit because, like, Sony has kind of just, like, they haven't really capitalized on that momentum and that lead, and I would hope that this E3 they had, like, here's 5 amazing games that you didn't know about. And of course there's the rumors again, like, hey, we're going to have, or they're saying, like, hey, what is the name of it even? The Last Guardian. I couldn't even remember the name of the game.
Oh, they're so
long.
I know. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I hope I'm wrong, but that just reeked of desperation when they did that. They're like, guys, The Last Guardian, it's really going to be here this year. And it's just like, I don't believe you anymore. What do you think about, do you think maybe this year will be like a big indie year? Like, I know there's a few games we're going to see out there. I know Ska, they used to be a local studio over in Schenectady, like 10 minutes from where I live, but they have Salt and Sanctuary, and they've been talking about that a lot. So, I don't know.
I think it's going to be a bigger year for indies. I don't think indies are ever going to be like the focal point of E3. Like, I think there's going to be games that people will say, "Oh, that looks really cool. I can't wait till that comes out." But unless like No Man's Sky is there and in like a really amazing playable form, well, but like playable and like it's actually a game, like that might take a lot of the discussion and stuff like that. I think this show could actually be more about the smaller third-party studios. And I say smaller, I mean, I think Ubisoft could have some really cool stuff. I'm kind of hoping to see some stuff from Capcom and Square Enix again.
Yeah.
I would like to see what EA has because I don't know, I remember the EA of the Riccatello days with, Dead Space and Brutal Legend and, Mirror's Edge and all that stuff, and still hope that there's a little bit of that fire left.
Well, Mirror's Edge 2 is going to be there.
Is it? Have they said for sure?
They do. I believe they did. I would like 90% certain that they said, but I can't recall it exactly, that they said Mirror's Edge 2 was going to be there. In fact, I would be willing to go so far as to say that they were specific enough to say it is not a sequel, it is not a reboot, it is Mirror's Edge, this thing, something like in the middle-ish. So, and Halo 5 is going to be there, because it's pretty much got to be.
Right.
What else?
See, now, if they announce, like, the next Gears, that'd be pretty cool. That Fable game still hasn't come out, so I want to see more of that. I miss Fable.
Yeah, Microsoft is the one with something to prove still, and Sony has gotten weak enough where they could do it if they really tried hard enough, I think.
Yeah.
Like, they already showed that they have, I think the one exclusive everybody was talking about was Sunset Overdrive. And they had that. That was the big, even though it wasn't a big exclusive, that was the one that everybody was like, oh man, Microsoft has Sunset Overdrive, and it's pretty good. So. And
there's that Platinum game, I forget the name of it, but like Scaleborn or something like that.
That was on, no, you're talking about Bayonetta 2, and that was on Wii U.
No.
I'm kidding. No, I know what you're talking about. Scalebound. That's
Scalebound, yeah.
Yeah, that was Microsoft exclusive, but
Yeah.
they better have something about that. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll disappear like Phantom Dust did.
Yeah.
Isn't that dead?
They say that it's moving to a different studio and it's still in development, but I doubt it. I mean, Phantom Dust to begin with was like the cultish of cult classics. I recognized it when they showed the trailer at E3 last year, but I was like, nobody knows what this is. And sure enough, people were like, what's Phantom Dust? So I don't even know why that exists or was going to exist.
I didn't recognize it by the trailer, but when they said Phantom Dust, I recognized the name, and I knew what it was vaguely, but it wasn't something I'd played, despite owning an Xbox.
Yeah.
So that's a little weird. That seems like the kind of game I should have gotten, but I didn't. I don't know.
It does seem like your type of game.
Yeah.
When I think about it.
I let that slip through, right?
But, for me, and again, like, as much yang as I talk about them, to take a page from Ryan Davis's book, Nintendo is always like the one that I'm like, oh, really want to see what they do. I know Zelda's not going to be there, but I really would like to see a new Mario, like a real
X2.
Mario.
You're going to have X2.
Yeah.
Xenoblade 2. You're going to have Mario Maker. You're going to have it.
No, I know. I don't care. Hoping for a new Metroid. They said.
Yeah,
they said straight up Zelda's not going to be there.
They said Zelda's not going to be there, but they're going to be doing their own thing on the side.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind like a new 3DS Zelda. Like honestly, like 3DS.
They have that. It's called Hyrule Warriors. It's coming to the 3DS.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They announced that. Was that today, actually? I think they announced that either today or yesterday.
Oh, see, I'm so behind. I didn't even know that. I just found out recently that Dragon Quest VIII is coming to the 3DS, but apparently it's not a very good port.
It might not come to the US either. They haven't announced it for us yet either. We didn't get 7. Yeah.
And I actually wouldn't have minded trying 7, even though it's so daunting.
Yeah, I heard it has like the longest intro ever.
They say that it doesn't start to... Like, I don't think you unlock the job system until about 40 hours in.
Yep. 30 hours in was what I heard, yes.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe, if they tweak that a little bit, cut that down to like maybe 10 hours somehow. There's ways to do that kind of stuff, especially if you're moving it from a disc-based platform to a cartridge and you're not emulating it, then you may as well tweak it because you're doing a lot of legwork.
Right. They definitely did that with Majora's Mask, which, it was going from cart to cart, but still, right. they put in the work to
well, even then, those are radically different systems.
Yeah.
I'm sure. On the back end. So they probably had to do a lot of work on it.
Yeah. But, Nintendo came out, for me, at last E3 with, like, the most impressive showing. The stuff like Splatoon and Mario Maker.
Really good.
Yeah. And what was... some of it still hasn't come out yet, but, like, like the Yoshi game, stuff like that, like, just surprising stuff. So I'm hoping to see some more of that, like, maybe something brand new, but also some sequels from some stuff that haven't seen in a while.
I'm a bad Wii U owner because I don't own Treasure Tracker.
I'm a bad Wii U owner because I only own 2 games.
Which ones?
New Super Mario Bros. U, which came with the system, and Bayonetta.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Bayonetta's a really good grab. That game is amazing.
That's why I bought the system. I just need to hook it back up and play it some more.
Yeah, because you really can't. Did you try playing that on the tablet?
A little bit, but no.
It's not possible.
Yeah. I
don't want to sound like I'm too jaded or too down on this. It's just I'm looking at this going, this on my little grade sheet so far. This generation has a very big needs improvement underlined in red. You know what I mean? You haven't failed. This is not bad, but please get your act together. Please, please, please. As far as the jaded aspect of this thing goes, I don't think this is the E3 where we're going to see it. I think it's going to be the next one. That's just me. I just don't see fireworks and amazing stuff coming out of this E3. I see this as almost like a placeholder. Like, here's what we're doing to hold you guys over until next year, and then next year watch the news.
Right.
But if it doesn't happen next year, man, we're in trouble. That's kind of where I'm sitting.
No, yeah, you might be right. I mean, and we could be wrong. Like, we might be sitting here recording next Tuesday and being like, oh, I wet myself. Like, this is so amazing. That's what I hope for. That's always the hope. But
yeah, but still, I have no regrets. I mean, I have a PS4 and I like my PS4 quite a bit.
Me too.
I'm just looking at it going, please give me something. And I think another part of the problem is, like, I have Final Fantasy Type 0. That's the game I really want to be playing on it right now. But the kids, it's an M-rated game, and there's kids running around my house, and it's just like, eh.
Final Fantasy Type 0 is rated M?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, the intro actually kind of lays that bare, too. There's blood all over the place. So I'm
that's so
okay.
Weird.
It is weird, but that's also why it's in. It's almost like a guide end, like it's off to the side. Like, this is not the main franchise. The main franchise is still teen, but this offshoot is their M-rated sort of thing.
That's still so weird, because that would be the first ever game in the franchise, like offshoots and everything, that's been rated M. That's crazy.
Yep.
I feel like you've told me this before, and I had the exact same reaction.
I think that might be the case. But yeah, it's
just as a quick aside, I popped in Final Fantasy X HD collection for the PS4 because, I have to make sure that Square Enix stays in business, so I buy games that I bought less than a year ago on different platforms. But, man, it looks even better than it did on the PS3 in HD. I was shocked. And then if you want to do like a really fun thing, listeners at home, and you can do this with the just PS3 version, but play the beginning of Final Fantasy X up to the first save point, and then immediately reset and go to Final Fantasy X-2 and play that up to the first save point, and see what a huge leap in technology they made from, like, in 18 months. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Also, X-2 is really cool. I can't wait to play that again.
I was having a great conversation with the guy who runs the retro game store over in Latham, Pastime Legends. Well, not runs it. He's the regular worker there. We were talking about 10.2, and I'm like, yeah, I like everything about 10.2 except 10.2. Like, how it's like, hey, this whole idea of switching this thing is really cool, but then you have to say the word dress spheres, and it just gets weird.
You don't have to say it, Angelo. They say it for you.
I know. But, yeah, I was swinging in there. I've been meaning to pick up the PS2 versions of Persona 3 and 4, because, believe it or not, I have not yet gotten into the world of Persona.
Neither have I, and I'm looking forward to having Persona 5 be my first.
There's something that'll be at E3, and that looks great.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Oh, and then there's that Persona Fire Emblem game.
Crossover.
Yeah, for Wii U. And that looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things. But yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, I think the stuff that I'm looking forward to seeing is actually the smaller things that might not necessarily be at, the Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo conferences, but will come out of the show and be like, oh, wow, that looks really cool. I just saw a thing today that apparently Zombie U might be coming to PS4.
What?
That kind of excites me.
But it's Zombie U.
Well, they could call it something. They could rebrand it. But, because really, I was thinking about it, because I know that, like, the gamepad played in really heavily with, like, your inventory system. But the crux of the game is really, it's a roguelike. It's Demon Souls, but with zombies. So that works, and I'd wanted to play it. I've thought about picking it up for my Wii U. I might still do that. It depends. If it's coming out for PS4, I'll wait and see, and then might decide to get the cheaper version on the Wii U. But I think that's cool.
I think I'd still get it for Wii U just because of the gamepad. Because I still remember, like, watching that demo where the guy was like, you had the video of the guy punching the code in, getting it wrong, looking up, and the zombie was getting closer.
Yeah.
And looking down and punching the code again. I was like, oh, that looks insane. So I think that's just tied too tightly to it. Same thing with that Rayman game. The name escapes me. And I
never remember if it's Origins or Legends, because there's both of those.
Same thing here. I always get the two confused, and I've played both, but I always get them confused.
Because it's two of the most, like, tired, titles you can give to a game. Let's just call this one Origins and this one Legends, and I don't know.
Tomb Raider Origins, Tomb Raider Legends. Speaking of Tomb Raider 2.
Yeah. Oh wait, but that's the Xbox One thing, so that makes me sad.
But I'm pretty sure that'll make its way. That's got to be a timed exclusive.
I would say that, but I feel that it might be a Street Fighter V situation where Microsoft is actually ponying up quite a bit of money for this one, so it might actually be a full-on exclusive like Street Fighter V is poised to be. So we'll see.
Interesting.
But there's always the possibility of a PC port, and eventually, like even though like my PC doesn't handle that caliber of graphics now, one day it will. So. Right,
and the other side of it is, I don't know, like nothing that Microsoft has said has made me regret buying a PlayStation 4. Or not buying, but getting a PlayStation 4.
Yeah. No, I'm still very happy with my purchase, and I'm actually a little bit happy that games aren't coming out as rapid fire. I've got a bunch of stuff that I still need to play. Final Fantasy XI is going to cut into that, but eventually I want to go back and finish Bloodborne. I've put almost 30 hours into it, so I've actually finished a lot of my smaller games on the PS4.
Yeah, so. I mean, my problem right now is just the fact that there's nothing like there's a bunch of games on my list. Shadows of Mordor, that's on my list.
That's that Shadows of Mordor is that game where I'm like, okay, this is next gen.
Right, but it's the same thing. It's like I really have a hard time with games that I can't play in front of my kids. And I mean, they're getting older, so it's getting to the point where it's accessible. Like my 15-year-old can handle it, but my 13-year-old, this might be a bit much.
Yeah.
I mean, like I let them watch The Lord of the Rings when they were much younger, but that was also, I don't know, like it was a movie, and it was very movie-like.
And Shadow of Mordor takes it to a whole different level. It's pretty
it takes
brutal.
It beyond the movies. I've seen video. Yeah. I know. But at the same time, same thing with Tomb Raider. It's like I have the first Tomb Raider, and it's like, man, you didn't have to go there. Like Tomb Raider could have been a perfectly fine T13 game. I don't know why they felt the need to push it to M-Land. I think some of it is just like the horrible ways in which she dies and some of the executions, which hasn't really been a Tomb Raider thing. And I don't want to get all like, please, censor your games for me. I don't care. I own the game. I want to play the game. My complaint is that I can't play it in front of the kids. Not that it exists.
The only thing I would say in Tomb Raider's defense specifically is that like thematically, I think it should be an M-rated game.
There are some moments where it gets a little rapey.
There's a moment, but I just mean like overall, like it's a much more mature, and I mean mature in the sense of like a matured storyline, not in like gratuitous or anything, but something that I don't think they necessarily could have done with a T rating. So I appreciate it in that respect, but some of that stuff is a little bit like needless. I'll definitely grant you that.
But I feel like right now it's like the teen-rated games are like boobies everywhere, and the M-rated games are like just cranked up to the point where it's like I really can't play this. And I don't know. I feel like right now I have a list of games, and there's nothing I can really grab because of just the circumstances I'm in right now.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily anybody's fault. I'm having some great fun with Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon, but like that's it. And I've got a wall full of games that I don't really feel comfortable playing right now. And that's nothing wrong. I'm just, where's the spectrum?
Yeah.
And movies went through this for a while too, I want to say. I'm not 100% certain, but I felt like there was a time where it was like everything was either rated G or everything was rated R, and everybody forgot that PG-13 existed.
Yeah. Well, for a while there, like PG completely went away. Like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it was just like, guys, what's up? There's people with kids of this age that want to take them to movies, and it's either friendship is magic crap, or somebody gets stabbed in the face halfway through, and I'm looking for your middle ground, and it's not here.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think maybe for you, like, I don't know how you feel about it, but the big PS4 game that like you could definitely play with the kids in the room would be Batman, which will be later on this year. So,
but that's not out yet.
Yeah.
And I played, I played the first Batman, which was Arkham Asylum, The main reason I didn't play it with the kids around is because the youngest was younger then, and I thought it might have been a little much for him, just based on him, not necessarily based on his age, if that makes sense.
No, some of the Scarecrow stuff
everybody's kids are different.
Yeah.
But now he would. Now he'd be like, oh, that's cool. And he'd get the whole, this is a fantasy, this isn't real, this is silliness. So I might even play Arkham City now with them around. Now that I think about it, that actually sounds really fun. And I could I could go into the backlog, but there's nothing on my shelf that jumps out and says play me right now, which is kind of weird.
Which is really sad when you think about it, because with that many games in the backlog, there should be something that's like, no, it's got to be this.
And I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. Like, I'm in the mood for something strategic. Like, you know what's funny is I keep looking at Arc the Lad Collection, like PlayStation 1 Arc the Lad Collection specifically, and thinking about how that was like the one strategy RPG. Well, it wasn't even strategy. It was like light strategy RPG that I really sunk my teeth into and had a good time with. I'm like, I should play the second one. But then I think about, oh, right, in order to play the second one, there's a bunch of stuff that you get in the first one that you can carry over into the second one, which is really cool, except I have no idea where that save is from the first one. It's on a save card somewhere.
If memory serves, and I didn't play it, but I always remembered hearing the first game was like 10 hours long. Like, it was super short, especially by those, by that era.
Unless you wanted to get all the items. Hi. I'm a little OCD. And there's like 4 specific items that you have to get, that you have to have saved in your inventory because they have something to do with the next one. And I remember the first time I played it, I found 3 of the 4 and didn't feel like going back and finding the last one. Plus there's like some big tower or something you have to go through, which is a bonus dungeon, but it has items in it that are like really important, and that it's one of those ones where there's like multiple levels to this tower and you have to get through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so I think when I had beaten that game, it had taken me close to. It took me between 15 and 20 hours, but on the lower end of that. So, I don't know.
Astral Train, take off!
Well, I'm always for a bonus dungeon, and you'll get bonus Nerds Without Pants next week. At least 2, maybe 3. We did 3 last year, mainly because we swapped out like for some fresh blood. Patrick's not here tonight, but he did say, we locked him in for we're going to record the 3 of us next Tuesday, and those are going to be, just as a heads up, like just kind of raw audio, very minimal editing. Angelo's going to throw his glass on the ground, like Dracula. But yeah, so we'll basically talk about our impressions of E3 so far. I'll get it ready and uploaded that night so you can have it. And then we should have JD for sure on Wednesday. And I don't know, hopefully Angelo and Patrick, or it might just be one of them or neither of them. We'll see. We'll kind of hash it out as we go. But, and then if we're feeling good, like if it turns out there's a lot to talk about, maybe we'll do a third one. I realize that I have really overbooked myself this month, what with Slam Masters and wrestling events and social things and Nerds Without Pants stuff. But, I definitely want to make it work, and E3 shows always seem to be really popular with everybody. So hoping that we get some fun stuff next week. I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully y'all are looking forward to it.
With a little bit of apprehension, but me too.
Yeah, I think that's safe. That's healthy.
Yeah.
And you can tell us about all the things that we said that were wrong in this episode, either in the comments over at pixelbit.com or on the Twitter. Angelo.
Oh, I'm at a roguish ham.
And you can find me at Julian_Titus. You can find Patrick at SomeBoss. And yeah, we will see you next time as we pull the E3 hype train into the actual event.
E3
so
hype
until
train.
Then, for myself and Angelo, thanks for listening, and keep it pantsless, Internet. Goodbye.
Bye.
You will buy these things! You will buy these things! You will buy these things!
Welcome to the V-Shop channel. We have software and games to sell. So we wrote this hypnotic tune, which turns your brain into a prune. Oh yeah, pruny brains. The kind of brains that buy stuff, even games that no one ever played. Yeah, we've got lots of that. We've got classics like Chum and Fu. Who could forget Utopia 2? Double Dungeons and Dragons Curse. They sound fun, right? Now grab your purse. We want your cash. With no frivolous distractions. Minimal design. Simple, pure and light. Here's the bottom line. Basically it's right. Catchy music, it makes you buy. And it's so fun to watch you try. It may take you 1,000 clicks. Party like it's 2006. Basically, it's better than a cartridge. What fun to blow a faulty card. Gay and lady cards. You need V-points to buy our stuff. It looks like you don't have enough. You must input your credit card. And we purposely made it hard. Ha 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 ha, look at your face. You just click for 20 minutes. Then we switch the side. Where you click for yes, do it all again. Trolling for the win. Yeah, my little V. You're gonna make a strange, clunky little store program. And we'll use the money to buy beer and spam. Buy some stuff. And then please buy some more stuff. That's my song about the V-Shop. Not to be confused with E-Shop. Please shop at the V-Shop till you die. Or if you're not old enough, ask your parents for help.